There are dozens of weaponized vehicles in GTA Online, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. But in this video, I'm going to show you my picks for the 10 best weaponized vehicles in GTA Online in 2025. Now, like I said, there are a lot of vehicles, and in some cases, there are vehicles that are very similar to each other, so for a few spots on the list, I focused on the vehicle I think it's the best, but also gave a quick mention to a similar one to keep the list from feeling too repetitive. So yeah, technically it's a bit more than just 10 vehicles, but I think you'll understand the approach. With that said, drop a like, consider subscribing, and let's dive in. Starting off our list with the weaponized Ignis, a car that is only available on the new gen version of the game. It's priced at $4.5 million, making it the fourth most expensive vehicle on the Warstock Cash and Carry website. This is the weaponized version of the regular Ignis, as the name suggests, and it features a minigun mounted on top that is extremely powerful. It can blow up vehicles very quickly. However, the minigun doesn't rotate 360 degrees. You can shoot forward and slightly to the sides, but nothing too impressive. Its vertical aiming angle is also limited, around 60 degrees upward, so it's not great for hitting air targets. Still, it's a very good weapon. This car can be upgraded with HSW performance upgrades at the LS car meet for $500,000, making it, if I'm not mistaken, the fastest supercar in the entire game, with a top speed of around 145 miles per hour. The Ignis also comes with bullet-resistant windows, which can withstand up to 15 rifle shots before breaking, always a useful feature in a vehicle. On top of that, it includes a missile lock-on jammer by default, which is extremely useful, especially considering that the weaponized Ignis can't withstand any explosions, so that jammer really helps a lot. It's definitely very expensive, but it's also one of the best vehicles for missions in GTA Online, thanks to its solid weapon, bullet-resistant windows, missile lock-on jammer, and insane speed. That said, there are vehicles like the Speedo Custom or the weaponized Tampa, which I'll also talk about in this video, that have a very similar minigun on top, but offer much more freedom when it comes to controlling the weapon, a major weakness of the weaponized Ignis. Next up, we got the FH1 Hunter, possibly the second vehicle with the most weapon options on this list. It's available on Warstock for $4.1 million or $3.1 million, with a trade price a bit expensive but definitely worth it. First of all, the Hunter features countermeasures, which aren't very common on helicopters and are one of its main advantages. According to some of you who commented on my best Warstock vehicles video, Chaff is the best option. So yeah, and thanks for that info by the way. Moving on to weapons, you have the option to equip bombs and turrets. The bombs include the standard 4 types, and while dropping them can be fun, they're not all that useful unless you're an absolute pro with the bombs for some reason. It also comes with a 50 cal turret, which isn't great, but you can swap it out for what's probably the best helicopter weapon in the game when it comes to the gunner's seat. I don't have any footage of using it, but trust me, those 300k will be the best you'll ever spend, if you have a friend to use it. If you're a solo player, it's really not worth it. Besides those upgradable weapons, the FH1 Hunter also comes with homing missiles by default. They don't have the best tracking, but they're 100% spammable, which makes up for it. It also features barrage mode, which is super dope and fires 7 missiles in a row. In terms of performance, it has a top speed of 145 miles per hour, making it the 7th fastest helicopter in the game. As for handling, it's very responsive and sensitive, so I'd recommend tweaking the handling settings until you find what works best for you. And if you usually struggle to land helicopters, you won't with this one. It's really sturdy, even if you hit the ground hard. It's also explosion resistance, being able to withstand up to 3 homing missiles or 4 RPGs. RPGs usually deal more damage, but for some reason, this thing can take more of them than homing missiles. Weird, but hey, it is what it is. The Hunter is definitely a heli designed more for dual play. If you're a solo player, it's not nearly as effective. In that case, I recommend going with the Akula. It's got some great features, it's slightly faster and way more solo friendly, even though it doesn't have quite as much offensive power. Moving on to our first plane on the list, we've got the F-160 Raiju, available for a whopping $6.9 million or $5.1 million with the trade price, making it the third most expensive vehicle on Warstock, right ahead of the weaponized Ignis. This jet only seats the pilot, just like most top tier jets in the game. When it comes to customization, you only get options for armor, performance upgrades like engine and handling, respray and liveries. The Raiju's weapons come pre-installed, which is honestly a relief, because if you had to spend even more on top of that already heavy base price, it will be a pain in the ass. It comes with explosive MGs, which are actually really good but don't have insane range to be honest. You also get homing missiles and non-homing missiles, though their tracking isn't great and you can't spam them. You fire 2, then there's a short cooldown of about 3 seconds before you can fire 2 more. The Raiju also features VTOL mode, which lets you land pretty much anywhere on the map, and this can actually be great for both PvP and PvE, especially in certain missions. Although it's not the best option overall, there are definitely better choices out there. It also comes with stealth mode, making you completely invisible on the radar. Besides being heavily armed and great for PvP, the Raiju is also the fastest vehicle in the entire game, capable of reaching 232 miles per hour, which is absolutely insane and even fast enough to outrun homing missiles. Despite not having countermeasures, the Raiju can take 3 homing missiles or 1 RPG, which is pretty solid. It's often compared to the Hydra, although I personally think it's way better. Sure, the Hydra also has VTOL mode, but it's not as smooth, and while it's much cheaper, it doesn't come close in performance. Moving on to the legendary Oppressor, aka the Oppressor Mark I. This beauty can be purchased from Warstock Cash and Carry for just $2,750,000 or just over $2 million with the trade price, which is honestly a great price. Starting with the customization, unlike its sister, this one can be only modified in a vehicle workshop inside the MLC or the Avenger. Unfortunately, it can't be customized at regular ALS Customs or the agency vehicle workshop, in case you're wondering. There's nothing too crazy you can change here, as you might expect. In the weapon section, you'll see it comes stock with machine guns, and it also has the option for homing missiles, which is the main objective here. However, you won't have those unlocked at first. To get them, you'll need to complete the bunker research. The Oppressor doesn't exactly let you fly, it lets you glide. Basically, you open the wings on keyboard, that's X, use the boost, that's E, and go up and down using Ctrl and Shift. I'm not really sure what the bindings are on controllers though. You can recharge the boost, but only when both wheels are touching a surface. While you're in the air, you can't recover your boost. On the ground though, you can spam it, and that can get you up to 140 miles per hour. At first it's going to be really frustrating, you'll crash into tons of poles and buildings, guaranteed, but once you get some experience and practice, I promise it will become much smoother and way more fun. Aside from being super fun and fast, the Oppressor can actually be very effective in PvP, although it can't survive any explosions, so you really need to be good with it. It can be amazing, but you have to put in effort. Unlike the Oppressor Mark II, where you just sit down and do pretty much whatever you want with no real skill or effort. That's why I decided to give priority to the Oppressor Mark I in this list, and also to change things up a bit, because everyone's tired of hearing about the Oppressor Mark II. Next on our list we have the Deluxo, another one of the most expensive vehicles on Warstock, sitting in the 5th place, priced at nearly $6 million. 6.75 full price or 4.3 million with the trade price. The Deluxo comes stock with both weapons, machine guns, and homing and non-homing missiles. The machine guns, like on most vehicles, aren't that useful unless you are an absolute monster with this thing, but the homing missiles, completely opposite. They are among the most accurate in the entire game, not the best but still incredibly reliable. Once you get a lock, the fight is pretty much over. Quick side note, the Deluxo carries 30 homing missiles before needing to be resupplied. It also features hover mode, which retracts the wheels and lets you fly. Although to be honest, the flying is kinda goofy. It's not fast, not very responsive either, but it shines in PvP. Thanks to how fast it can spin 360 degrees, giving you a huge advantage in close fights. If you're flying high or being locked onto, you can turn off hover mode to drop quickly, which returns the wheels and makes you fall fast. It's a fun mechanic and honestly makes the Deluxo one of the most fun vehicles in the entire game to mess around with. Unfortunately, the Deluxo can't take a single explosion, which is easily its biggest weakness. You can dodge income homing missiles if you're good with it, but railguns will usually take you out easily. As I mentioned, it's not fast whether on land or air, but it's slightly faster on land with a top speed of around 127 miles per hour. A strong competitor to the Deluxo is the Toreador. It's cheaper, it has some armor, nothing crazy but still something, submarine mode, and the best machine guns on any car in the game. It doesn't fly, but it has a boost, which gives you a lot of utility. That said, its missiles aren't quite as strong as the Deluxo's, even though they're still great. Overall, both are amazing. Personally, I prefer the Toreador, I think it's more OP, but the Deluxo is still very solid and you might disagree. Honestly, I recommend getting both. Continuing with one of my favorite vehicles in the entire game, we've got the APC. This bad boy is available on Warstock like all the vehicles on this list for just over $3 million or $2,325,000 with the trade price. When customizing the APC, you'll get the usual performance upgrades, some liveries, and also the option to equip proximity mines, which are always a nice bonus. More importantly, there's a weapons tab where you can choose between the stock weapon, which is decent, or upgrade to the SAM battery, SAM battery, I don't even know how to read it, but once again, this can only be unlocked through bunker research. You can throw proximity mines the usual way, E on keyboard, and to use the top mounted weapon, you need to be in the gunner seat. To switch seats, just hold H on keyboard and your character will swap positions. If you're playing solo, this can be annoying since you'll have to stop the APC every single time you want to shoot, but honestly, if it didn't work this way, it would probably be way too overpowered. The stock weapon is good, but I personally prefer the SAM battery. It's just super OP and insanely fun to use because you can spam missiles like crazy. However, keep in mind that the missiles aren't unlimited, so as fun and satisfying as spamming can be, they'll run out, and faster than you might expect. Another big plus is that the APC is amphibious, meaning you can drive it through water freely, which can be really useful in certain missions or maybe PvP situations. As expected, it's not very fast, with a top speed of around 63 miles per hour, but its acceleration is solid, so off-roading and climbing hills isn't as bad as you might think. Now in terms of armor, the APC can take 7 homing missiles or 7 RPGs, which honestly could be better. You're also an easy target when in the gunner seat, especially if you're playing solo and someone starts spamming missiles at you. Moving on to the TM02 Kanjali. This beast comes with a price tag of either $3.8 or $2.8 million. One thing you've got to keep in mind though is that you need to own a facility in order to buy a Kanjali. So that's at least another $1.2 million right there, and that's not even counting the customization costs, which can also get pretty expensive, but I'll get into that in a bit. Once you've got inside your facility, you can hop in and access the vehicle workshop. Luckily, unlike the agency, you don't have to pay to unlock the workshop itself here. You'll have the basic upgrade options, and when it comes to weapons, it starts with the option to equip proximity mines. When further down, you'll see the options for primary and secondary weapons. Under primary weapons, you can upgrade the main cannon to a railgun cannon for $300,000. I'll explain how it works in a second. Under secondary weapons, there's the option to equip a remote grenade launcher, but honestly, in my opinion, it's not worth it. It can only be used by one of the rear passengers, which makes it kind of situational. If you don't upgrade the main gun, it just fires regular tank explosive rounds, but if you go for the railgun cannon, it fires much faster and hits harder. Visually, it even looks like a proper railgun shot. You can also hold the fire button to charge it, which gives it even more power, range and impact. It also makes some loud and terrifying sounds when charging. There's also a machine gun on the front, which isn't upgradable and it can be used by the front passenger. It does decent damage and has a solid angle of rotation, so it's definitely useful. As for that remote grenade launcher again, it's available, but honestly, you'll barely use it effectively unless you've got at least 3 players in the tank. It's controlled from the rear seats, so if you're rolling deep, it might be worth throwing on just so everyone has something to do, otherwise, skip it. And like I mentioned earlier, you also get access to proximity mines, which are always handy. The Kanjali is actually pretty quick for a tank. It can hit speeds up to 42 miles per hour, and it can take 8 homing missiles or RPGs before blowing up. Overall, it's a really solid and fun vehicle to own for sure. Next up, we have what many consider to be the best vehicle for missions in the entire game. And by that, I mean missions that restrict what vehicles you can use. The Vigilante. It's available for $3,750,000, which is definitely expensive, so if you're just starting out, I wouldn't recommend saving up for the Vigilante right away. Starting with its weaponry, it comes equipped with machine guns, which don't deal much damage and are in a pretty bad position, especially because the Vigilante sits very low on the ground. But the good news is that you can upgrade to homing missiles for just $150k if I remember correctly, which is an absolute steal. These are some of the best homing missiles in the game, better than any vehicle on this list. Against vehicles, it's almost impossible to miss. The only targets it struggles with a bit, and even then rarely, are NPCs or players on foot. But if I'm saying it only misses NPCs occasionally, you know it's insanely accurate. The Vigilante also features a massive boost, the strongest in the game, and it lasts for a long time too. This lets you reach crazy speeds of up to 147 miles per hour, however you shouldn't just spam the boost carelessly. The Vigilante is a heavy and long vehicle and its handling isn't the best, so if you boost blindly you'll crash a lot and the whole experience can quickly become frustrating. Also, I wouldn't recommend using it against players because it can't survive even a single explosion, which is unfortunate but understandable. Still an amazing vehicle overall, and I'd recommend it to any player who's more advanced in the game. Moving on to the second to last vehicle on our list, we've got the Weaponized Tampa. This car has an absurd amount of weapons, but it's heavily dependent on bunker research. Pretty much all of its best weapons are locked behind it. First of all, it can be equipped with proximity mines, which, like with most vehicles, don't require research. Under the weapons tab, you'll find the missile launcher, which does require research, as well as the rear firing mortar and the minigun upgrade. It already comes with a minigun mounted on top, but it's static, so you can't move it around. However, once upgraded, it becomes a fully rotatable 360 degrees turret with great vertical angles and insane damage, capable of shredding vehicles in just 1 or 2 seconds. The missiles, on the other hand, aren't very useful since they don't lock on and only fire straight forward. And you'll also have to be careful not to blow yourself up when going downhill or hitting a small bump. The rear mortar fires explosive rounds and the range depends on how long you hold the fire button. Holding it for at least 2 seconds gives you the maximum distance, which isn't amazing, but it's a fun feature. The damage is good, but it's hard to hit with, and there's a limit of just 20 shots. Plus, there's another research upgrade for armor plating. However, the Weaponized Tampa can't survive any explosions, and even with the armor plating, it's not explosion proof. It just handles a little bit better against nearby explosions. After taking 1 or 2 hits close to the sides, the car will start catching fire and you won't have much time left. The Weaponized Tampa is slightly faster than the regular Tampa, reaching a top speed of 112 miles per hour compared to the standard 106 miles per hour. And finally, we've got the recently added Titan 250D. This massive plane is available for $4,870,000 or $3,652,500 with the trade price. It's the armed version of the default Titan, and if you own the Mackenzie Field hangar, you'll use it in the final mission, and that's also how you unlock the trade price. When customizing it in the hangar, it comes with usual performance and visual upgrades, plus countermeasures, which makes it a really strong starting point. The Titan 250D comes with 3 weapons, all mounted on the left side of the plane. First off, if you're playing solo, I wouldn't recommend buying it. However, you can land the plane and switch to the backseat to use the guns yourself by holding the Enter Vehicle button. On keyboard, that's holding F. This lets you test them out, except for the 105mm. Speaking of which, the 105mm cannon is the heavy hitter. It fires a single powerful shot, great for sniping from a distance, but it has a slow reload and can't be used while the plane is on the ground. Then there's the 40mm cannon, which fires explosive rounds in short bursts. It's the only weapon that can be used by the pilot, making it especially useful for solo players. Finally, the 25mm minigun is a fast-firing weapon that's great for quickly taking down vehicles. This one can only be used by gunners. The front windows of the Titan are unbreakable, so in order to kill the pilot, someone would have to destroy the whole vehicle. And for that, it takes 12 homing missiles or 12 RPGs, which is really solid when combined with the countermeasures. Still, since it's a slow plane and all the weapons are mounted on the left side, you'll probably get taken down easily if your opponent has even a little bit of skill. Regardless, it's an incredible aircraft with insane weapons we've never seen in the game before. And that wraps up the list of the 10 best weaponized vehicles in Grand Theft Auto 5 Online. As always, if you disagree, feel free to drop a comment down below, let me know what you think is the best, or share your favorite weaponized vehicle. I'm gonna wrap up the video here, thanks so much for watching all the way through, drop a like, consider subscribing, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.